Welcome back to Rupert and Pinchy. I'm
Welcome
here with
back.
Rupert. Hey,
Hey, Pinchy.
how's it going?
Good. Good. It's cold
Um,
outside. Cold outside. It's getting
really?
close to that
Yeah.
special time of the year.
Yeah, where it's gonna be cold but it's gonna be better because you
Not gonna
celebrate.
be.
Celebration always makes it warmer, I think. Um, Yesterday we put up the tree, finally.
Hmm.
It's been a couple of weeks. Um, Lily, my sister, she's been doing a lot of school stuff. And then on the weekend, she hasn't had much time, so we just did it yesterday. So that was good. That's always a fun time. Um,
Well,
we haven't
it's
had
too
any
bad that
gifts wrapped until now. So
it's too bad that you had to put up your tree.
why?
I on the other hand had the Lord put up my tree in my front yard 30 years ago, and it's growing. It's always up. But I did put lights on it 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
So that's my Christmas tree.
good, great,
It's outside. It's a
good,
real tree.
great.
Is your tree even real?
I mean, depending on what you mean,
It
it's there.
exists.
It's not
It exists.
invisible, right? Yeah, but
Well,
but yeah, it's artificial, whatever that means.
think about that. That's kind of weird. Like artificial trees, but they actually do exist. So are they really artificial?
Well,
You know?
that's an artificial question.
That's true. It's a eternal regress or a
I
logical
wonder what
fallacy
I
or
actually don't know what artificial means. I'm gonna find it. Um,
it means not the real artificial. Sometimes say that
Artificial,
you're
artificial,
you're
made or
maybe it's
produced by human beings. Let me look at the etymology.
that's a terrible definition.
Let me
Artificial
see.
means made or what by
Word
human
origin. Here we
beings
go. Okay,
from a guy named
Latin.
Art
If you didn't,
who was
if you couldn't
official
guess,
official in the course. Okay, yeah.
or it comes from Old French or Latin from artificium, which means handicraft. See artifice. I thought that was a similar word. Clever or cunning devices or expedients, especially as used to trick or deceive others.
Hmm.
So it's huh. Who knows?
Well, thank you for taking down us down a word study.
I tried. It didn't work
Okay,
very well.
that was that was what's called artificial eloquence. Can you look up eloquence? See where that came from?
I bet it's Latin too.
If I was going to guess, I would say artificial came from
The
a person named.
artifices.
No, it was an official named Art, and Art was an official, so they just said artificial. Who said to do that? Art the official said artificial. Anyway, wow,
That's you tried.
that's artificial humor as well. So, but according to your definition, artificial comes from the root word very clever, very ingenious.
So does it mean that it's better than natural?
I
It's
don't
like
know. What's real humor? Not funny stuff? I
yeah,
don't understand
yeah.
that.
Well,
You know?
speaking of humor, I asked the AI chat about punchlines for the fish joke, and it came back with the same lame answers that you tried to come up with. I'm sorry, it's just not a good joke. What is your joke? Why don't you tell the audience?
That's, well, I don't know it. You know it better than me.
You know it.
Because it's burned in your mind from the amazing laughter it created.
Well,
Just like
actually, I'll read it after you give your answer. What's the joke?
why don't fish smoke? Because they can't get their cigarettes lit underwater.
Ha 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 ha.
That's it. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Let me
I
read
sold
what
that
the
to
AI told
Jay
you.
Leno for 37 cents. Anyway.
Let's see. You can supplement the time by saying things.
All right. Things.
I was thinking it would be like things.
Trifecta.
Come on. All
Try
right,
it.
I'll get it real quick.
Have you ever tried fecta?
No, I didn't.
I tried it 3 times.
Ha ha ha.
Didn't like it either. Yeah.
I'll ask the AI about that and see if it likes it. It
Yeah,
probably
I
does
don't
because
want
it's
to.
stupid. But you're not. It just is an AI. I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
where I put it. Ah, whatever. It said stuff similar. That's all I gotta say.
Well, today I was thinking that we would talk about artificial
Trees.
humor. No,
Yeah.
no. Actually, today I thought it would be a good idea that we just tell everyone Merry Christmas out there.
Merry
Because,
Christmas.
yeah,
Goodbye.
it's, yeah,
It's
for me, it's one of my, if I say it's my favorite time of year, that would not be completely correct because I think of Christmas all year long. That, that every day to me seems like Christmas.
well. Wouldn't you also say that there is something about one specific day that seems a little different? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Even though we do appreciate Christ's sacrifice and his birth all year round, wouldn't you say that there is something about the Christmas spirit, as they say?
Well, yeah. I mean, the scriptures say that some people uh, honor one day more
As a
special
different,
than
yeah,
another, and then others honor every day as the same, but both honor each day as unto the Lord.
yeah.
So, uh, but yeah, Christmas is a special day because something really unthinkable happened.
Mm,
That God came to earth in the form of a man. Uh, the incarnation. He was on the earth before anyone saw him in the Mother Mary for 9 months,
mm-hmm,
right? Uh, and but anyway, it's such a miraculous thing when you think that okay, the Creator, the uncreated,
mm-hmm.
joined himself to his creation. So yeah, and then the date of his birth being such an amazing. Now, who knew?
Right.
Mary and Joseph kind of had an idea,
Mm-hmm,
and the shepherds were frightened by the angels,
mm-hmm.
and they kind of had an idea. But I mean, the most amazing thing in the world, and no one knew.
Right. Well, and it talks about in the scriptures about how Christ humbled himself, and that's an example of the humble beginnings of the Christ. The
Born in a
is
barn.
yeah. I
Yep.
mean, yeah.
When someone says that joke, "What were you born in a barn?"
Yep.
If it's like
Just like Jesus.
Jesus would say, "Yeah," and then you'd go, "Okay, that's all right. That's good. I'm sorry." But I mean, yeah, it's just amazing how it came. Um,
And
and he was
oh,
born
sorry.
in Bethlehem, which is the house of bread, is what Bethlehem stands for. He's the bread of life. It's amazing.
Well, I was
So,
thinking about the other day. There's probably some significance about the gifts that he got from the wise men.
sure. There, I've heard a lot of teachings on that, and I can't recall some of them, but we could probably think of them
Well, wasn't
through.
it
But
like?
let's go through.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say go ahead.
I, I don't know what I was saying.
Okay.
I was giving the three gifts that I remember is gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I don't know
Myrrh.
anything about
Well,
those other than gold being like maybe wisdom. I don't know.
or being able to buy something, right?
Yeah.
So well, look at it this way. Two, uh, when he was, we don't know what age Jesus was when they fled to
Right.
Egypt, but we know that when Herod sent the soldiers, that he was told to kill all the children,
Two
male
and lower.
child, two and lower. So immediately, Joseph was going to be without a job.
Right.
It would be nice to have a little money along the way to pay your way.
Right.
Um, but coming back to the fact that it's Bethlehem, house of bread, Jesus says, "I'm the bread of life." And then where was he in? Where was he laid? In the
Laid when?
manger.
Oh yeah, in the manger. Yeah.
What is a manger for?
Is it for eating in?
Yes, it's
For
just
bite the animals? I mean.
yeah, it's just amazing. And then, like you said, now then those the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and we know myrrh I think is used sometimes in burial for an ointment,
Right.
but it's valuable, and frankincense. So there's definitely significance about that.
Probably. Yeah.
Definitely is. Um, and so
But what about
I don't think.
frankincense? What is frankincense?
Well, frankincense. Look it up while we're talking. But frankincense is a. They burn it
Oh right.
incense. Frankincense is kind of a helps you. Okay, you have gold,
Who's the
frankincense, and myrrh. Which one is the incense?
who burned? I mean,
Gold? No, dude.
who's
Frankincense,
Frank?
gold, and myrrh. Yeah, who's Frank?
Who's Frank?
Frank's incense.
That's kind of
Um,
scary.
Unnecessary comment.
Yes.
Me going nowhere. No, but so yeah, he came in poverty, and
And they honored
there
him
was
like
a
he was a king.
yeah, the wise men,
Yeah.
the shepherds, and the animals, you know, and the little drummer boy.
There have been many stories written about the Jesus being in the manger and all that. Max Lucado, I believe, has some stories about the animals and
Mhm.
the little drummer boy thing. There's just something special about talking about the shepherds and animals and people that were there at the beginning of when Jesus came. It was really special, even though it's very humble. And then they start coming
Mhm.
from everywhere. The shepherds and the wise men, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's interesting.
Well, you know me, I love Christmas,
I love Christmas too.
and
It's my
yeah,
favorite time of year.
and yep, and I think it's absolutely criminal that Christmas cookies are not made available all year round. I don't
It's not
ever
as
get it.
special. It's not special. They have it all year round.
It's really sad that people can't enjoy cookies more than once a year because I love ribeye steak
Well, some kinds of cookies we eat
every
all year.
day. Every day.
I can't
I
imagine
couldn't.
eating Christmas cookies all year. I would get sick of it.
No, I won't get sick of it. Now, maybe instead of having 20 a day, it might go down to two or three a day.
Three. Yeah, I don't know.
So some of my memories of Christmas and growing up, um, we had some amazing Christmases. But one of the memories is my mom. mom and dad had 8 children, and she would make Christmas cookies, and they're butter cookies. And so she would make, and besides other Christmas things, she would have to make hundreds because
Yeah,
8 kids
get eaten and
and a husband, hundreds. And we would always be around when she was cooking, and anytime one broke, we loved it because then we got to eat it
yeah.
when she was rolling them or frosting them. And then we loved the raw dough. So we were like vultures. She was trying to protect her family's food from the vultures, and the vultures happened to be her family too.
Yes, right.
But she's trying to keep these cookies. So as things, as we started to grow up and stuff, she would make boxes. She'd make hundreds of cookies, and then she would have to hide them.
You're right.
And she started
They're
out by
rationing
hiding
them.
them
She
in.
had to ration them.
Yeah, well, no, she just had to hide them before Christmas because she would make them 2 weeks,
Right.
like 3 or 2 weeks before, and then put them in the freezer or whatever. So put them in the freezer was her first place to hide them. Wow, that's gonna be hard to find. Anyway, so then we would sneak cookies out of the freezer before Christmas and deplete her cookie supply so much so that at Christmas Day there'd hardly be any cookies left. So she had to start to get creative, and so she would hide them in the cupboard way up behind something that you never saw. We'd find them.
Right.
She'd hide them underneath in the lower cabinets, like behind or on top of the and tape them on top of the
Drawer.
drawer so that you couldn't see it.
Right.
We'd find them. One year when we were living in my dad had retired from the Air Force and we went to the farm and became farmers. Anyway, at the farmhouse in the unfinished basement there are beams that go across for the floor joists. Okay, and then she hid them in those by the wall way back so no one would know where it was. There'd even be spider webs and stuff because that's
nobody
where
went
spiders
there, yeah.
were. It was an unfinished basement. Now the cookies were sealed, so they're not going to have bugs in them.
Right.
Me and my cousin found them.
How?
There's something about when you want to find something, you can find it.
Right.
And so it's.
Well, you could check everywhere and eventually find it.
I didn't know I was being scriptural at that point, led by the word that said, "Seek and you shall find." But first of all, I had to know there were cookies, so I knew that. I knew there were cookies. I had smelled the baking. I had seen it. And then I knew she hid it. So then, and I found them. And so me and my cousin proceeded to eat like 200 cookies. Now,
That is a mistake.
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. She already knows about this. I kind of got in trouble. But I didn't get in trouble right at once, okay? So this is what happened. So she found out that most of the cookies were eaten up. And guess what? We didn't get sick. That's when I knew cookies were vitamins. That's when I realized that cookies actually have a health component to them. And that's why they're so delicious. So
Probably the butter
and the sugar and the vanilla and the flour.
and the frosting.
All these things go together. Hey, vitamins are complex. so,
Yeah.
so we ate all these cookies, and no one would fess up. Okay. My cousin Mike was the one eating these with me, so he told his mom because Mike didn't. I didn't like to lie, but sometimes I probably lied.
Yeah.
Mike was very honest. If you asked, if his mom looked at him and said, "Did you do that?" He would say, "Yep." So she found out that actually Mike told her that we ate the cookies. And then Mike's mom called my mom and said, "By the way, I found out why the cookies were all gone." So then I got in trouble a lot. So that was a really fond memory of and what's really cool is now that I'm an adult and I stir up the cookies that Mom
You don't have to
made,
worry about finding them.
I don't, at least not now. Maybe as I get older, and if I get Alzheimer's or just get forgetfulness, I might have that problem. But right now,
As it
I don't
stands.
have to hide them, and they're all mine. They're all mine.
Oh my.
They're all mine. Anyway, so I share them. But
How many?
so that
How
was
many do you
no,
share? Five? Here's
no.
your
I will give
one cookie per
more
neighbor.
away than I get to keep myself sometimes. If I have someone to give it
Sometimes.
to, sometimes. So that was a really fond memory. Another fond memory, and then we can go on to other fond memories. Uh, was you mentioned about the feeding of the animals
Yeah.
in the manger on the farm every Christmas? Let me back up. Every cow on our farm produces a certain amount of milk and has a certain amount of um, milk fat within their milk, and we test once a month or once every quarter. We would test each individual. We'd weigh how much milk they're producing, and then we'd also have take samples and send that off to a laboratory to tell us how much milk fat is in there. Because the higher the milk fat content, the greater value of that um, milk is. And every cow's produces a little different. And so some cows don't produce as much as other cows.
Right.
It really comes down to their DNA. And so you would gauge what you feed them based on what they're producing.
Right.
Because if you have a cow that's producing not very much milk, uh, to feed them extra, that that food does not translate into more milk. It
Right.
just translates into more weight or fat or waste. And so we would gauge it out, and each cow had a certain amount of grain that they received, and
Right.
they loved the grain. They would eat the grain in a matter of seconds in front of them, and so each one had a different amount.
Right.
But at Christmas time, my dad would tell his kids that even the animals know
Right.
that Christ was born on Christmas Day. And he would give every animal one extra scoop of grain every Christmas morning. And that was so cool. I thought that was so cool. I thought it was kind of odd, but I thought it was cool. But now that I'm older,
Right.
I also realize it costs money because grain is very expensive. But anyway, that was one thing that my dad said in the fond memory, that he'd give cows extra grain. And so I wasn't particularly a smart kid. I should have said, "Well, Dad, at breakfast, I should have said, I know normally I get 2 or 3 pieces of bacon. It's Christmas morning. Can I have 6 pieces of bacon?"
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't do that. Anyway, so
Yeah. You're like, you're feeding the animals more. Why don't you feed me more? Aren't I more important?
am I not more value than a sparrow or the cow? Yeah. So that was a cool memory, and of course, in we enjoyed Christmas in California when we grew up there. Uh, Mom decorated the house wonderfully, and we'd go to church on Sunday, and the church would be all decorated and beautiful music, and and for us kids, the floor of the living room would be decorated underneath the tree with 1 year, and it probably happened more than 1 year. We couldn't even walk in the living room because it was so full of Christmas presents. Now remember, there's 8 kids, so and it's not like we had a super giant living room,
Right.
but um, there was obviously joy, but there's that affluence and that overindulgence at Christmas that kind of can take away from the true
Yeah.
meaning,
Absolutely.
obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, but looking back on that, even so, um, God's love towards us is extravagant. We got to remember that sometimes when you think, "Wow, we just have so much,"
Right.
and it's good to balance, but it's
Absolutely.
also good to remember that it's the Father's good pleasure to give you His kingdom. You know, and also, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has it even entered into the heart of man.
The yeah.
The things that God has prepared for those who love Him. And so, uh, but that being said, the commercialism of Christmas is unfortunate. It's out of control.
Yes, I agree. So, I think that holidays have definitely gotten gotten too commercialized. But it's interesting that even though it's commercialized and all that, I think everyone knows that there's something particularly special about Christmas, even if they misplace that into things that I think are distractions. Um, there's obviously something about Christmas that even the secular world finds interesting or finds special versus every other day of the year. I think that's definitely showing the Christian influence is that even though it's been corrupted to some degree, there's still that original message that's just waiting to be found out. You know, um,
Hmm.
I don't agree with the way that Saint Nick has been um, treated around this time of year. I think it's absolutely important to know what Saint Nick did, and Saint Nicholas, and he was a Christian guy. He was a Christian saint. It's like that doesn't take anything away from Christ. I
Hmm.
don't think the way
Right.
that it does is when the world takes that and that becomes the main message, and Christ gets forgotten about. But remembering Saint Nick, I don't have a problem with that. I definitely don't have a problem with that. Like I said, it's just the commercialization. But holidays like Saint Valentine's Day, we forget what it's about, and it's totally
Hmm.
become something that is absolutely stupid nowadays.
Yeah,
I
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, but Saint Valentine's Day, um, it's become the secular romance day is basically what happens, and they forget that it's actually named after a saint.
Hmm.
They don't even call it Saint Valentine's Day; they just call it Valentine's Day. But
Hmm.
but do you even know who Saint Valentine is? Everybody
Right.
out there? I doubt that you know who Saint Valentine is. Maybe you do, but very little amount of people know who Saint Valentine was, or who Saint
Hmm.
Patrick was. Saint Patrick
Right.
was kidnapped by pirates and brought to Ireland. Okay, and then eventually he escaped, and then he went back to save their souls, to
Hmm.
give them Christ.
Evangelize them. Hmm.
Wow, what a man that he would be willing to go back to the people that kidnapped him to spread the gospel because he knew that they needed it. That is a
Hmm.
godly man. That is a godly character, and we forgot about him
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
in our today's culture. In the same way, we forget about who Jesus was, and that Christmas is about Christ. And I I'm interested in what the that or what the word mass means. Do you know what it means? What does it mean?
No, but I have suspicion it has to do with sacrifice.
Right. I imagine that it has something to do with
Hmm.
Christmas, with Christ, and I think that
Hmm.
uh, Christmas probably is also has to do with that or something. But there's a lot of people missing the true meaning of Christmas, and
Well,
these symbols of the tree and uh, you know, and the presents and the stockings. A lot of the meaning behind these are forgotten.
hmm well, at Christmas time, they say that there's more singing than any time of the year.
Yeah, I
There's
can definitely tell.
more reconciliations in family sometimes at Christmas time. So there is obviously um,
Some do.
Christmas time is a special time,
Hmm.
and but then to for the Christian, it's not the end time. It's the starting point. It's the most magnificent that Christ was incarnated and became man.
Yeah.
But Jesus had a message that was two words: follow me.
Hmm.
And so when you think about it, okay, follow him. How do we follow him from the very beginning? He was not ashamed to be of humble
Right.
circumstances. He also, when you think about it, of every child born is born to live.
Right.
That's their purpose. Um, every child is born to live and thrive, and their point is to live and thrive. The point of our Lord's birth was to give his life from the very beginning, and he came to give his life.
Right.
And um, so if we start to, if he says, follow me, imitate me, be like Christ, um, it takes on a whole new meaning a little bit and uh, he came to give his life in a short amount of time. The kings of the world were after him to kill him,
Right.
right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so that's one thing. And then, so are we really willing to follow the true Christmas message and the message of Christ?
Right. Well,
It's
that's
it's
that's a question about
mhm.
all year round. Because the message is all year round, and we don't live it. A lot of us don't. Um,
Mhm.
and it's disappointing. Uh, it's it's frustrating in my mind. I love holidays. Okay, I don't have a problem with them. It's just frustrating. Why can't we, as members of the human race, be like this all year round? Or we just forget. We forget. That's why we need holidays, because we forget. It's always a
Mhm.
reminder. In Israel, their holidays were reminders of all the things that God had done for them.
Yep, the Passover,
Yeah,
the festival of booths and all the different things.
but some people thought it was something to do. That was basically
Or
all it
time to
was.
celebrate. Time to celebrate and have wine,
Right.
you know.
And some of the symbolism and meaning behind things were just forgotten, and by many people, and that's where we are today. Um, I still love Christmas. It's still my favorite
Mhm.
time of the year. But even though with the joy, there's also a second side to it. It's
Mhm.
there's some sadness that I feel around Christmas because of the way that Christmas is treated, but the joy is way more overwhelming. Going to church and singing Christmas songs, that's what we do. And all the songs like Joy to the World or what were we
Silent Night or O
Silent Night.
Emmanuel or
Yeah, these songs are amazing in my mind. It's like we are celebrating the coming of the king as a baby.
Mhm.
Man, we who how many babies have been celebrated like this? Not
Mhm.
many in the United States.
Right.
That's the other part of the sadness is what value do we even put on children anymore? The
Mhm.
King of Kings came as a
Was a joke.
baby, came as a fetus, which is a Latin term for baby. And we don't value that anymore. I do,
Mhm.
but and you do, but people don't. So,
Mm-hmm.
how else do we expect the world to react to Christmas other than to forget what the meaning is if they don't even value babies?
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious. And the fact that you were saying that it was 2,000 years ago that he was born, and every year we celebrate his birth. And um, it would be interesting if the Lord was uh, s- standing next to me, and I told him that it would be interesting to ask him what is his opinion of his birthday.
Right.
And I have a feeling he would be like, well, that was one thing,
Right.
but there's another. My coming as a baby and coming uh, to minister for 3 years and then give my life. That was all a process to get to the next coming,
Right.
right?
Right.
My first coming, the most thing I would want you to learn, I think he would say the greatest thing that I would want you to learn from my first coming is that yes, indeed, I did come,
Come. Yeah.
and but that I'm coming back.
Right. Well, we have
And
a chain of
if you keep
forgetfulness.
and if you keep looking back
Right.
and not look forward, um, in our episode about how did it go? It's about the episode 11 or 12, the destination one.
Mm-hmm. Minutia
Is that
versus the
if you
big
know
picture
you have to
idea.
have the end destination in mind
Right.
is one of the most. So he might be saying
Right.
he might pat on himself on the back and say, "Hey, hey, hey, yeah, appreciate you looking back 2,000 years at my birth,
Look ahead.
but look ahead, and that's going to change how you live today. If we look back, we think of all the good things that he gives us and we celebrate. And it might make us not look more inwardly. I'm not talking about being consumed with self. I'm talking about inward, examination of conscience and where we are and how we're moving toward our end goal. If we're just focused on all this wonder and joy of Christmas, and we don't look at the coming, when you start to look at the coming, that's a joy too. But then we go like, okay, that is a joy that's coming. Am I ready for his coming?
Right.
Am I ready to share that joy, or is he going to look at me and go like, wow, I don't know you?
Right. Well, like I said, it's a chain of forgetfulness. Honestly, we forget the past, which makes us forget the present, which makes us forget the future. We, as a culture, we forget about the meaning of Christmas, about Jesus coming as a baby to die for our sins. And that makes us
Mm-hmm.
forget that Jesus died for our sins, which makes us
Mm-hmm.
forget that there's a day of reckoning. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we start from the history, honestly. Maybe you start with the end goal in mind. I guess it depends. But you have to look at history to know that there's an end. So, you look at the history when Jesus came and gave his life. And then we have to be like, man, we forgot him. That's what a judgment is for. I mean, not for
Mm-hmm.
remembering him, but to judge the world. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
that judgment is coming. And we should always recognize that. And we should,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to have that joy, but it's also good to know what the future is going to be like.
Or
And
have a
right.
well. Think about his first coming. His first coming. The announcement of Christmas Day was announced in the garden when they were being kicked out. It's what's called the proto-evangelium, the
Mhm.
first gospel. is when God Himself gave the first prophecy and said, "Behold, uh, the woman and her seed shall crush the head of Satan." That was when Jesus was first prophesied
Hmm.
that He was coming. It didn't say Jesus is coming on December 25th in that, but it just said the woman and her seed.
That's a
So,
good point
uh,
because the thing is, the beginning starts with the end in mind. It's already talking about a redemption. It's already
right.
saying there needs to be somebody to redeem us, to
Yeah,
redeem
immediately.
this original sin.
Yep. Yeah, it's the first evangelium. And so, and then through all the Old Testament, Jesus is prefigured and
Right.
foreshadowed, and that His coming and who He is and what He's going to do and why He's coming for thousands of years. And so the Jews were always looking
Right. Well,
or wondering when is, and they almost lost hope. Like,
it's
I don't
not.
know
Yeah.
when he's, and then when He does come, does anyone know? Could they have known? According to the scriptures, they might have been able to determine that He was going to be born in Bethlehem
Right.
because they even said so. But they wouldn't know when. Are they going to set up an outpost in Bethlehem and go like, okay, you guys, we're going to start a new company. You're called Look for the Messiah Company.
Well,
You might be in business for a few thousand years,
well,
but
that's true. But okay, they could have determined some things about it. But isn't that what the wise men did? Is there people
right,
that aren't even a part of Israel, right?
right.
Or and they recognize the signs, and
Mm-hmm.
then the people Israel didn't, or it doesn't seem like it's said that they knew that that was happening at that time. And isn't the star in Scripture, or is it Isaiah? I don't remember what it was, but basically that a star, somewhere I don't remember, is that they were able to determine what the star meant, and that it was
Mm-hmm.
about the Christ. It's like people that weren't part of Israel figured this out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So maybe there's some hardening, obviously, in Israel.
Well, and God always has a purpose.
Right.
So thinking about uh, we talked about this in one of our podcasts on the three wise men at one point.
Hmm. We had a podcast about the three wise men.
Not specifically, but we brought them up
Oh.
that they looked at the minutia of details
Oh,
and
okay,
came up
yes.
with But the thing is, there is something. God also had a purpose.
Right.
So even though they were using their mind and their intelligence and their all this minutia of detail, the Holy Spirit had to have given them some type of inspiration, unknown to them. God had a purpose
Right.
for them to be there.
What was the purpose?
Well, that all lands, east and west, north and south, would honor him,
Right.
and also, I mean, well, there's to contrast the fact that they prepared presents
Right.
and his own people did not. There's so many different things, but
His own
so
people
just
did not.
yeah, did not provide gold and
Right. That's what I
frankincense
was.
and
Yeah.
myrrh for him. Yeah, and but also it's just to show the elaborate glory of God pulling all peoples together. Because didn't He say He would draw all nations?
Right.
And so, um,
We're at 45
anyway,
minutes, just so you know.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the promise of Christ was announced at the very beginning, and they started to wonder if He's coming. They started to lose hope.
Hmm.
And then they started to, well, He's not coming, so we're going to form our own plan. And 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 then He comes seemingly in secret, but it wouldn't be too long before He would be known.
Right.
You know, um, would we not think it would be similar toward the end?
Right, that it would. Okay. That he would
Surprise.
already. Yeah, that would surprise us. Well,
Well, there's going to be
absolutely.
some. There's going to be some contrast because he came and he was born in a barn in Bethlehem
Right.
at night. Uh, no one knew, but then the scripture says that uh, when it comes to the time of the end, and they tell you that Jesus is in the wilderness, don't go.
Right.
Or if he says he's over there, don't go, because when he comes, it will be like lightning flashing from one side from the east to the west. Can anyone miss that? I don't think so.
Right. Well, that's another thing is, you need a storm to have lightning, and so there's got to be something going on at that time. But then all of a sudden he will be here. I think it will be like we're in the time of the end, right? And we don't recognize it, and then Jesus comes, or
Mhm.
I guess you could maybe realize it. I don't know, but then
Well,
Jesus
no,
comes right. We didn't expect that he would be here at that moment.
right. Well, he that when he appears, when his appearing comes, uh, when when he appears in the sky, it'll be like lightning from the east to the
Right.
west. Everyone will know.
Right.
But he's already told us that there's like a 7 year period
Right.
of the end. There's going to be the 7 last years are going to have events that happen progressively more violent and wonderful events happen until when he comes. So, but we're not going to know when like that first day
Right.
starts of that event. But we should get an idea. He's told us different things of what we might look
Right.
for.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
you know, the whole world's not going to get a text saying, "Hey, the tribulation started
Right.
today." You know. And then no, but you're going to get a sense and a feel. It's going to build
Right.
just like it did for the Jewish people. And for a while there's going to be a certain hiddenness
Mm-hmm.
of that time being present.
Mm-hmm.
But so our time of Christmas is a wonderful time that both you and I just
Right.
love. Um, but its most important message that it could give us is that we need to look for his second coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you before we recorded, I heard a message and someone was sharing that there is an old tradition that at Christmas Mass, you'd be facing the priest, and the priest would be facing the altar, and then a deacon in the back would be secretly opening the doors, and then he'd yell something like Christ is coming, or he just to get everyone's attention, and everyone would turn away from the altar and look to the door to emphasize that Christmas is here. The next step is him returning
Mm-hmm.
again, and that's why they look at the open door. I thought that was really cool. I wish they did that all the time. I mean, not every day, but it's a neat small little tradition that keeps us in mind
Mm-hmm.
that Christmas is wonderful. And what does that mean for the coming Christmas? So hey everybody, Z and I quick changed our clothes just for the final saying goodbye.
Hurrah!
And yeah, Merry Christmas. I will see you, Pinchy, at on Christmas Day and
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday. So Godspeed to you all. Love
Have
you.
a good week.